Welcome to the Homeschool Sanity Show, where you can experience less frustration and more confidence in your homeschool and parenting. I'm your host, Dr. Melanie Wilson, clinical psychologist, veteran homeschool mom of 6, and author of story-based curriculum Kids Love. Today's episode is a really important one because we're talking about something I hear from parents all the time, but many don't say out loud. The fear that maybe you've gotten discipline wrong, that maybe you've been too hard or too soft, and you're wondering what that means for your child long term. If you've ever felt that way, you're not alone. And I want to encourage you right from the beginning. It is not too late. Today, we're going to talk about why most discipline ends up at one extreme or the other, and how you can find an approach to discipline that feels just right for your family. At my last conference, I had several moms come up to me after my session on discipline, and more than one of them had tears in their eyes. And what they said wasn't just, "I'm frustrated with my child." It was, "I'm afraid I've hurt my child." Maybe you felt that too, like you were too harsh, angry, controlling, punishing, or maybe too permissive, avoidant, allowing disrespect with no follow through, and now you're wondering if you've already done damage. If that's you, I want to reassure you. Today, I will share why most discipline ends up too hard or too soft, and why that doesn't mean you've failed. The first reason our discipline ends up too hard or too soft is that most of us weren't taught how to discipline in a balanced way. We're often reacting to what we experienced or trying to avoid repeating it. I talk to parents who rebelled against their own parents' harsh physical discipline, stringent rules, and withheld approval. They don't want to parent their own child that way, and that's understandable. Some homeschool parents who grew up with too hard discipline didn't rebel, but submitted to avoid conflict. That response continues, especially with a strong-willed child. Both types of too soft parents can find themselves worried about the long-term consequences of a child who walks all over them. The second reason we can find ourselves swinging from too hard to too soft discipline, sometimes in the same day, is fear. We start asking, am I messing this up? This is the part we don't talk about enough. Parents aren't just frustrated with a child's behavior, they're afraid. What if I've been too hard and my child rebels like I did? What if I've been too soft and my child can't make it on her own? What if I've already done damage that can't be reversed? That fear comes from how much you love your child. You dearly want your child to be successful and happy, but you don't know if your current approach will lead them there. If that resonates with you, you might be encouraged by something I've just created, a new book called Goldilocks Discipline, that helps parents find that just right balance without worrying if you're ruining your kids for life. I'm going to share more about it at the end of our time together, but I wanted you to know that it's ready if you're looking for more guidance. The fears we have about our parenting come from our love and our goals for our kids, but they're also based on a belief that isn't entirely true. For decades now, we've been told that early childhood experiences can make or break our kids. I was afraid my kids would grow up to write a tell-all, mommy dearest kind of book about me. Yes, the developmental impact of our parenting is real, but children are far more resilient than we've been led to believe. They learn, they adapt, and they are incredibly responsive to change. They can also be far more forgiving than we expect. I have been terrified that my children would remember every one of my mistakes and see them through that same lens of shame that I had. That hasn't happened. In fact, many times on Mother's Day, the kids have praised me for the aspects of my parenting that I felt were the weakest. That leads me to share this reminder. We often adopt a too hard or too soft approach to discipline because we think we're on our own. But we aren't. We have God's wisdom and guidance in His Word. We also have His grace, not just for our children, but for ourselves. I have found that the more I accept God's grace for my mistakes, the easier it is for me to extend grace to my kids. Many times when I haven't known what to do as a parent, God has answered my prayers clearly. One morning, I was so frustrated by the house being a mess despite having a chore system. I stopped and prayed and felt the Lord suggesting that I was being too soft on the kids. I was assigning chores and not checking them. Then I was doing the undone chores myself. I realized that a simple solution was for us to work together, moving from room to room so I could make sure the work was being done. We got the house picked up very quickly, and I wasn't frustrated. God provides us with not just inspiration, but practical solutions when we ask. A third reason we adopt a too hard or a too soft approach is because it seems to work in the moment, but it doesn't create lasting change. We count to 3 or yell, and the kids finally obey, but they don't have a heart to honor us, and they will delay again next time. We may successfully avoid conflict in the moment, but it doesn't build character. We ignore the fact that chores weren't done, as I did. We make excuses for our child. He's tired. He has a lot going on. But he doesn't become more responsible. Neither extreme approach gives your child what they truly need to be happy and successful in life. So what does? Fortunately, there is a just right approach for your family. Not perfect, not easy every day, but confident. This approach is clear. Your words and actions communicate the same message. This approach is calm. You don't react out of anger or anxiety. This approach is consistent. Most of the time, you respond calmly and communicate clearly, and you follow through. This approach is connected. Your relationship with your child is primary, and you make time to nurture it instead of focusing on rules and consequences. This just right approach allows you to guide your child without reacting to your past experience, to your fear, or to your desire for a quick solution. Instead, you guide your child by building and leveraging your relationship with your child. One of the simplest ways of prioritizing the relationship is with individual time. I had 6 kids, so it just wasn't possible for me to have individual time with each child daily. Instead, I assigned each of them a day of the week based on their age. The oldest day was Monday, and the youngest day was Saturday. On their day, I would ask them what they wanted to do for special time with me. Most of the time, they wanted to play a game with me. Sometimes they wanted to go out for a shake. Whatever it was, I was solely focused on them. Their siblings were not allowed to interrupt special time. This time allowed me to talk with and feel connected to each child. Often, the kids felt satisfied with as little as 15 minutes of special time with me. I do not regret prioritizing individual time with my kids. I still have it with my adult children, just not on a particular day. But I do wish I had shared this responsibility with my husband. He had individual time with the kids, but it was more hit or miss. If I had to do it over again, I would have alternated time with him. Even when we prioritize the relationship, we can still feel stuck. That's because many behavior struggles aren't just discipline issues, they're skill issues. My daughter has strong emotions, as I do. When she was little, she would scream at us in frustration. Punishing her with a too hard approach made things worse. I had an app on my phone where I tracked the kids' money. When she screamed, I announced that I was docking her $1. You guessed it, she screamed all the more. If I had ignored her in a too soft approach, her screaming would have also intensified to get me to acknowledge her feelings. Even a just right approach of having her go to her room for a break would not have avoided future outbursts. That's because something important was missing. My daughter didn't yet have the ability to regulate her emotions. Now, here's what I want you to hear, especially if you've been feeling discouraged. When your child struggles in this way, it doesn't mean your child is broken or that you failed. It means your child has a skill deficit. Because skills can be taught, change is possible. That is good news. But before we begin teaching skills, we want to be prepared to respond to our child in a way that isn't driven by fear, frustration, or guessing. When your response feels just right for you, everything begins to change. So, if you feel you've gotten off track with your discipline by being too hard or too soft, it's time to make a small course correction. If you'd like help with that, I would love for you to check out my new book, Goldilocks Discipline. It's designed to help you move away from the extremes toward a calm, confident approach that works in real life. The book comes with everything you need to develop a just right parenting plan. Through Sunday, April 26th, I am including 2 additional resources to help you take action right away. First, a 7-day Just Right Discipline Reset. Using short emails, a printed guide, and audio encouragement, I'll walk you through that course correction this week, even before you read the book. Second, you'll receive a list of Just Right discipline swaps with ideas for what to say and do instead of defaulting to a too hard or too soft approach. You'll be prepared to respond and not react to your child. The book is short and includes discussion questions, making it easy to read with your husband. You can find Goldilocks Discipline at fun2learnbooks.com/shop or in the show notes at homeschoolsanity.com/justright with no spaces. I can't wait for you to experience less frustration and more confidence as a homeschool mom. If you remember nothing else from this episode, remember that it's not too late. You can make small changes that can make a big difference in your family. If this episode encouraged you, I would be so grateful if you would share it with a friend. This has been a production of the Ultimate Homeschool Radio Network.